off a heartbreaking loss to North Georgia, look to have a pretty strong night and hopefully get a win here today, Robert, against North.
And Sam Goldberg-Hahn, 8 shutout innings. Be an outstanding middle game of the series with game break, and we look forward to it. Jaguars will send out Jay Penley to the mound this season. He's a very versatile player, has also played outfield several times this season, and has been able to come off the bench to both pitch and, of course, play in the field. And he's done it all this season, as have a lot of players on the Jaguars. And that's one of the things the Jaguars do best, is having many different players that are versatile, that can do several different things and play different positions, including pitch and DH, like we saw yesterday from Zach Goebel, who started at DH and then came on to pitch the 9th inning. Unfortunately, he struggled on the mound, but he is a versatile player, and he's done that several times this year when he's come on to pitch later on after DHing at the start.
Let's bring it back up to speed on what happened in last night's ball game. It was a dandy of a pitcher's duel between Gowardon and Hine. And also Cade Heil. It was a dandy of a pitcher's duel, as up until the 9th inning, Heil and Gowardon only allowed 1 run to their credit up until the 9th, and then that's when the screws for the Jags started to unravel just a little bit in the 9th inning, with the bullpen and a heartbreaking loss allowed 3 runs in the 9th, that the Jags could not come back and topple North Georgia in a 4-1 loss last night. But as we stated before, today is a new day for the Jaguars. They have, as we touched on, Jay Penley on the bump for the Jags, and then his counterpart will be Kyle Luigis on the hill for North Georgia. It should be a outstanding pitching matchup today, Robert, and here's to a good solid game.
Absolutely, just like what we saw yesterday, same idea here today. And let's also note, would probably have no issue going to their bullpen at all at any point during the game, whether it's early or late, depending on how the pitchers do against the opposing offenses. These are 2 very good offenses who were both silent, but let's not forget, with the pitch, because of yesterday's Kyle, their starter, he went the distance. So, 9 struggled. So, but they still have plenty of fresh arms that they can throw out today if they need to. And let's also not forget, contributes to that as well.
Absolutely, and just to kind of keep you up to date on the conference standings thus far, North Georgia, with that win yesterday, shoots into the Peach Bowl Conference with a 6-7 record and a 13-12 overall record. Augusta is trying to get back on the winning snide, and we'll tell you about that after the national anthem. here on the Augusta Athletic Network. Blake Collins along with Robert Ambrose here to take you the rest of the way for this Peach Belt Conference matchup between the North Georgia Nighthawks and the Augusta Jaguars. And as we mentioned before the National Anthem break, Robert, Augusta's looking to get back on the conference winning schneid. Their record kind of speaks for itself at a 6-12 conference record and a 9-18 overall record, but that record does not reflect how good the bullpen has been for the Jags and also how the offense is starting to come back around and starting to piece together solid hits and pierce through on some of the threats you see on the base paths for the Jags.
Well, the bullpen, especially at the beginning of the year, was the biggest struggle and the biggest reason for their record being what it was. But recently, baseball is a game of streaks and runs. And in the current run that the Jaguars on, the bullpen has come around and pitched better. Yesterday, unfortunately, was an off night bullpen-wise, but overall it's starting to pitch better. Pitching as well, and the offense is, I would say, doing what's been doing all year. The offense has never really been an issue.
Absolutely, and with Penley on the mound for the Jags, you've got another solid starter on the bump for the Jags in his first test at the plate. Who's coming up with a bat in his hand is the left fielder Josh Profit. Now, you might remember from last night, Josh came in a very precarious situation in the ninth inning in a pinch hit situation. He did his job at the plate and was a part of that that 3-run ninth inning to excel the score 4-1. But let's see how he does here in the leadoff spot for North Georgia.
He drew a bases loaded walk, which scored an insurance run in that ninth inning yesterday.
Penley buries a pitch on the outside corner for the second strike of the at-bat. Profit is looking to cash in on a single to start off and get the Nighthawks swinging in the right direction. Penley fires, sails across the plate, but misses. So it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Penley again wheels and deals as the defense for the Jags are playing straight up, and a really phenomenal changeup there from Penley. And all Profit could do was swing at air, swing right through the baseball, and he is sent packing back to the dugout. So the table setter for the Nighthawks could not get the job done as far as a leadoff single is concerned, or a leadoff base hit. So that will make way up at the dish for Chase Suddeth. The Nighthawks second baseman stands in and ganders at a first pitch strike on the inside corner. Penley's a very rapid worker on the mound, and he fires. Again, he's painting the corners early on here, Robert, like a masterful pitcher.
And that's a key to success for any pitcher, is be able to use the edge of the strike zone, whether it's the corners, the letters, or the knees, as obviously you don't want to leave it over the plate. And so far, Penley is hitting his spots.
That time, Penley's pitch was a change of speeds out over the outside corner to where Suddeth was able to track it. It's a little bit tardy on the swing, but he was able to push it foul and stay alive in this at bat, down 2 strikes. Now 0 balls and 2 strikes. And that ball is rocketed out to shortstop. Well, that is where Maddox reigns for the Jags, and he puts a squeeze on the second out. 2 quick outs for Jay Penley, off to a really good start here in this mid-afternoon second game of the series for both teams. Penley now wheels and deals. Pitching to contact beautifully there as that ball is skied into center field. One pitch, the third out is secured, and that was off the bat of Andres Perez, who is one of their hottest hitters, but he goes down on the first pitch, not wasting any time. The Jags shoot right back around in the bottom of the first with their first 3 hitters up at the dish. We will tell you more about that on the flip side. Thank you for coming on back into Lake Olmsted Stadium. So the Jags are looking to infuse a little bit of speed and power in their first 3 guys up at the dish. First will be Devin Billardello, the center fielder, who has phenomenal speed. And if he puts the ball in play, watch out, he can create havoc on the base pads. Also, Bakari Gale, who has a lethal combination of a 5-tool player that we've seen from the likes of Clint Hardy and other players in the past. If he can utilize all those tools and put it together, he will have one heck of a junior season, and he's already doing that for the Jags here. Also, and then the Peach Belt Conference Player of the Week and the Regional Player of the Week, who is batting in the 3-hole, the power hitter, and also the resident closer for the Jags, and Zach Goebel stands in the hole, facing off against Kyle Luigis. And Robert, tell us what Luigis has done. So we'll catch you up on Luigi's stats in a few minutes, but first, let us venture right over into the first pitch that Devin Billardello will see. And Luigis fires a strike that nips across the heart of the plate. Try to cut down the low and outside corner there with a slider. Barely misses. Billardello, don't be fooled. He does have patient eyes up at the dish, and he can work the count with the best of them. That time, the ball sails on Luigis, and Billardello's staring at a 2-ball and 1-strike count. And that ball is chopped over to third base. A tough play for the Nighthawk third baseman, made beautifully, and that was via the glove of Nick Palerno. Absolutely tremendous pick and a tremendous stab on that chopper to set down the first out off a speedy Devin Billardello.
Luigis has split time this season for the Nighthawks, pitching and start as a starter and as a reliever this year. This is his 4th start and his 11th appearance, so he's made 7 appearances out of the bullpen this season. He's been shown very much so consistency in 30 innings total pitched on the year. 3.90 ERA, which is fourth on the team, a 2-1 record as well for the Nighthawks this season. So he's a very consistent pitcher for the Nighthawks, regardless of what part of the game he comes in. And definitely what that shows you, Blake, is he's very unselfish and is willing to do whatever it takes, whatever part of the game, he's always ready to come in regardless.
Exactly. Pitch to contact, whether you need a strikeout or anything like that, he'll get you that as well. Right now he's going toe-to-toe with the left fielder for the Jags and Bakari Gale, who is no slouch himself when it comes to speed. It's one of those 5 tools we mentioned earlier. If he can put the ball in play, he will cause hassle for North Georgia on the base paths. But, excuse me, check swing there sends Bakari Gale down on strikes. As rapidly here in the bottom half of the first inning, there are 2 gone.
And what Luigis is showing early on, yes, it is early, but he is showing that he has his stuff ready to go.
Absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, to 2 of the first 3 batters, he's been a conductor of first pitch strikes.
And important to note, if the Jaguars are able to make threats on the base paths, Luigis is the team leader for the Nighthawks in successful pickoffs. So something the Jaguars should watch out for if they are thinking about the ABCs of baseball, which will be a big major factor today, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely, and we saw it come up huge in last night's affair as well. And you got to think, with as darn near a good a pickoff move as Luigis has, you may not see too much dancing around out there on the base paths for the Jags.
And he is a righty, which really says something as well.
And we saw the righty last night, Heil, make a pickoff attempt, but send an errant over to first base. That could come a problem. I don't think so with Luigis, but you never can tell, as Goebel has worked himself into a 3-ball and 2-strike affair here. Ball is nubbed to shortstop, and a beautiful transition coming in charge, and a transition and a throw over to first base, and the Nighthawks retire the side rather quickly here in the bottom half of the first. We mosey on into the second inning. The Nighthawks have a chance to put a charge into the baseball and garner a lead. We'll see what happens. Now, as we talk about Luigi's success as well, Penley looks to surge here against Connor Corbett with a first pitch strike. Penley with a nasty slider that starts at the top of the zone and slides into the zone. Very good pitch from Penley there to send the count to Connor, the right fielder, to an 0-2 hole. And that ball is punched into the ground. Wagner with a tremendous transition and a beautiful cannon to follow suit. And the first out is in the books.
And here's another reason why when you're an infielder, being in the correct ready position is so important. As you saw, Wagner struggled to pick up the ball. He bobbled it a little bit and had to pick it up. But the reason he had enough time to recover and make the throw across the diamond in time is because of his positioning. It was an easy pick up and throw to first.
Right.
Whereas if he had to dive for it or take several steps over to get it and beat it down, it would be hard to get into a better position to pick it up and make a better throw. But the ready position is so important for that reason.
Absolutely, and also too, fundamentals are so important in that scenario as well, because the way he fielded that was the correct way of starting the glove in the dirt and working up, and that ball is lasered into right field off of Bill Leroy's bat. He didn't waste too much time, but the Jags were right there to connect with the second out, and that is Moore's out in right field. North Georgia is not wasting much time with the bat and being very aggressive. It hasn't paid off for him yet. Is quickly and rapidly. Penley is another 1-2-3 side retired for Jay Penley. As we mosey on into the bottom half of the second, the Jags are looking to surge to create the game's first run. You know where to stay tuned to find out what happens. So the Jags look to cook up some offense here against Kyle Luigs. And the first man to try to create contact with the baseball for the Jags here in the second will be the outfielder who made one of the final outs in the top half of the second, Harrison Moore at the dish. And that ball settles across the heart of the plate for the first strike. Luigs and Penley, Robert, have done what you ask pitchers a lot of times to do, is create first pitch strikes, and it's working to both of their favors early on.
Yeah, and you know, these guys are pitching like a Friday starter in college baseball on a Saturday. And if you're a coach, you gotta love that, to have that depth. It's still very early in this game, a lot of time to go, and both teams can easily make adjustments.
Absolutely.
But you'd have to think one of those basic adjustments, when you see first pitch strikes, if you're on offense, start swinging the ball early in counts. We've seen that on both sides today and yesterday, and that contributed to the quick pace of yesterday's game.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just because of a pitcher's duel. The game was barely over 2 hours at all.
And there's another quick out for Louise as Moore grounds out the second. Phenomenal play there by the second baseman to retire Moore. And now that takes another speedster from the Jags lineup and places him back into the dugout, to where now you've got the veteran catcher behind the dish for the Jags, and Brent Alford looking to do some damage with the bat in his hand. And Alford ganders at a first pitch strike, and that tolls over the inside corner. Not quite sure where that missed, but the ump says it was a little outside. And that ball's tomahawked into the ground. Second chance for the second baseman for the Nighthawks, and they convert on the second out. So both pitchers pitching to contact very effectively, as Suddeth with 2 chances and 2 outs collected in the field for the second baseman. And now one of the most patient batters up at the dish for the Jags, and Jim Wagner. Luigi just there cannot find the strike zone. Up in Wagner's eyes. We just wheels this time. Fires a fastball in the lower part of the outside part of the zone and strikes it clean for the first strike of the at-bat. Two-one pitch is pelted back to the net, foul behind home plate. Wagner all year for the Jags has been a battler at the plate. He's worked the counts when he's had to, and then fouled pitches off when he gets down in a hole and stays alive in counts. It's a great attribute for the third baseman. He rifles one into right field. It drops in front of the right fielder, and Wags is standing at first base with the Jags' first hit of the game. And I do believe, Robert, if I'm looking at it correctly, that is the first hit for either team in this ball game thus far.
That is correct. That's not a typo on the scoreboard. That's the first number we're going to see that's not a 0 in this game, and it's in the home team hits category for the Jaguars. That's also the first base runner of the game for either team, as both pitchers had not allowed a base runner until just now. And you think about Wagner and his discipline that we saw of how he's able to foul off pitches when he has 2 strikes, is able to stay alive. Paid off for him there, and he's able to get a pitch that he likes and get a single. And that's something that you learn in 4 years of playing college baseball. Wagner's a senior. You can't imagine how much pitches a 4-year veteran has seen in the game of baseball in his career.
Any and all types of pitches you can possibly fathom in the college game, especially with Division II and what the Peach Belt Conference has thrown. Wagner has seen. That's a very good reason as to why he's on first base, learning from those at-bats earlier on and getting a pitch to handle there. Now the at-bats delivered to Mason Robertson to try to migrate him along to second. He's already up in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. There's the first fight. There's a first strike fired from Luigi's.
And you'd think Wagner, after seeing all those pitches in his career, he knows what he likes and doesn't like to swing at as well. And defensively, he's able to know how to play the ball. And we saw in the top of the inning when he made the nice play at third base and was able to recover from bobbling the ball. his experience of playing hops and seeing all those ground balls, you think of how many of those he's had in his career at this level as well. Same idea.
And Luigs is smart here, keeping the ball on the outside, because he notices Robertson has a small open stance to him, looking to turn on any pitch inside. So if you keep the ball away, then Robertson has to adjust mid-pitch to try to cover the outside zone, and if he can't, he'll hit it off the end of the bat instead of the sweet spot, or at the neck where you can get a solid single off of it. So a very smart strategy here from Luigs to stay outside when Robertson is looking inside to turn on a pitch. Instead, though, Luigs loses him on 6 pitches. Very tough at bat there for Robertson. Pays off, and the Jags have their first threat of the ball game in action.
Well, with Wagner being the first base runner of the game for the Jaguars, we'll see how that affects Luigs' concentration on the mound. He does have 3 successful pickoff attempts this season for the Nighthawks, but perhaps that played a factor in the way he pitched to Robertson, falling behind him 3-0 before catching up to full count and then ultimately walking him. And now he's behind Hobbs here, 1-0 with 2 on.
Did you mention kind of the shaky confidence of Luigs here? He initially in the first inning was pitching first pitch strikes to at least 2 of the 3 batters. Now it seems in this inning, he's after the Wagner hit has fallen behind the last 2 batters in Robertson and now Hobbs at the plate. The first baseman is ahead 2 balls and no strikes. Make that 3 as that pitch was delivered high and inside. So initially, Robert, Luigs had obtained 2 rapid outs here in the bottom half of the second, but just could not obtain the 3rd out and has run into some pressure.
He's had some tough at-bats, and since Wagner's single, ever since he's had to deal with the base runner, he's fallen behind 2 consecutive hitters, 3-0. Has thrown a strike on the 4th pitch each time, and Robertson ended up catching up to Robertson and having a full count before walking him, and now he's behind 3-1 to Hobbs.
Smart hitting decision by Hobbs to make Luigs throw a strike and deliver the 4th pitch of the at-bat down the middle for a strike. That time, he skies one into center field, where the center field comes roaming in and makes the stab on the 3rd out, and that's how the bottom half of the second will come to a close. So the Jags spur up some pressure, but they could not press across a run. The Nighthawks look to spur some offense together and see if they can get a hit in the 3rd inning. We'll be right back on the flip side. So the Nighthawks are trying to strike daylight in their bats and surge here with Jake Arnold, the first baseman, up the dish for the Nighthawks, looking to make some solid contact here against Jay Penley, who has been absolutely phenomenal for the Jags on the mound, pitching to contact really well, garnering first pitch strikes. And for Penley, this is much desired, and see if he can keep this up. As the 0-1 pitch curves into the dirt. Penley delivers and fires a strike over the center of the plate. Fastball has good life for Penley today. So the 1-2 pitch. Change of speeds on a changeup. Gets Arnold swinging out in front. Doesn't make contact with the baseball, and instead all he gets is air. And now the third baseman, Nick Claro, comes to the dish in a rather stifling Nighthawks offense here early on, Robert.
Well, they've definitely struggled. Only 2 strikeouts, though, so far for Penley, and it's not easy to hit a ball that's on the edge of the strike zone.
Especially if your bat and your plate coverage is on the opposite corner and you don't prepare for the corner that the pitch is thrown to, then the bat will be all out of whack.
And even if you are able to make contact with those tough pitches, it's hard to hit it in a direction that you'd want it for a potential base hit. It's easy to ground out or pop one up.
And it's interesting now, though, too, as you look at the Jags' defense, Robertson and Maddox are covering up the holes on the third and the first base side, leaving up the middle drastically open here for Clarno to exploit if he chooses to shoot the ball back up the pipe in that direction. So now, Penley is not necessarily worried about that at this point. He's got 1 ball and 2 strikes in his favor. Tries to snag strike number 3 and record the second out on a fastball that just is wide of the outside corner. Penley tries to curve that ball back into the zone, but it didn't have enough curve on it. So a seldom 3 balls and 2 strike count that Penley's working to. Penley delivered. That ball's hit into center field. That is where the speedy Billardello tracks it down and hauls it in for the second out.
And to show you just how good Penley's stuff has been, that's probably the best hit ball that we've seen by a Nighthawk player at the plate in this game. He's able to line it straight to center, but Billardello was right there to make the catch.
When Penley pitches, it's especially the last 2 starts, it is extremely difficult for the opposing hitters to make solid contact with it, as you mentioned, and he's been fooling a lot of the Nighthawk hitters today. Ball nails the outside corner. Tremendous first pitch there by Penley on the fastball. Wheels and deals. Sinker sinking down low. No offer. As Penley gets ready to wheel and deal to Mapes. Will Mapes sees his second strike, his second ball rather, of the at-bat, just a touch outside. And if Mapes were to secure first base, then the lineup will turn back over to the top half and profit. And that ball is comped foul off to the left. Again, Mapes finds himself swinging under the pitch and skies it in foul territory. Wagner gave it a fine look and a ride over to the seats to try to snag the third out, but it reaches the seats out of his reach. And that ball's laced into left field, so a good at bat from Mapes, who had a little bit of an issue early on with trying to time up a couple of pitches here from the Jags, and that time he improved his timing really well and just shot it into left field for the first hit now for the Nighthawks.
And of all people, it's the Nighthawks' number 9 hitter that comes through with the first hit and becomes their first base runner of this game. And we flip the lineup card to the top of the order.
And if any of you guys can get here watching at home within the next 15 to 20 minutes, there's an ice cream truck. If you guys love ice cream, come on down and get your ice cream here. It's absolutely scrumptious food. So if you guys can get down here rather quickly, you guys have a chance to score some ice cream.
And it's a beautiful day for ice cream as well. Nice weather.
Absolutely. It's a little overcast. Had about, looking at the weather report today, about maybe a 30% chance of rain, which is not much. And we got a good solid sky with clouds in it, overcast, and baseball on top of it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Penley's worked himself to an even count on Profit. That ball soars on him as his released the ball a little bit earlier than he wanted to out of the release point from Penley. And he's trailing in the count, 2 balls and 1 strike. Tries to navigate to the outside corner, but unsuccessful, as Penley. Profit is showing good vision at the plate as he's staring at a 3 ball and 1 strike count. Jags double play depth in the infield, and that ball skied to Maddox, camps under it, puts a squeeze on the third out. And that'll do it for the top half of the third inning. Jags look to anchor in some runs in the bottom half. So we'll mosey on back in a minute. Louise settles in for his third tour of duty here at Lake Olmsted Stadium, and he will battle against 9, 1, and 2. With Bill Ordello on deck, Maddox stands in, looking to create a base knock for the Jags. He swings over the top of a good splitter from Louise. 1 ball and 1 strike. Louise fires, tries to nip the outside corner, but cannot connect. As Louise fires another fastball, this time more over the plate, and Maddox takes advantage of it, grounds it to second. The speed almost beat it out for Maddox, made it closer than what it seemed like, but he is ultimately retired as Sudduth is getting some exercise out on the diamond. This is at least his third play he's put the kibosh on for an out. And Louise rearing back and ready to go as he faces Devin Billardello, now back at the top of the order for the Jags. Fires their first pitch ball. Louise delivers again. With that fastball scurrying over the outside corner and Billardello covering the inside corner, even if he made contact, it would not have been strong contact. So a good job for Billardello to foul that off. That time he got fooled on the splitter, didn't realize the rotation of the ball, and swung right over the top. See if Billardello's speed can beat it out. Billardello swung at the same pitch. A little bit of a different result because the catcher could not maintain possession of the baseball squirted by him, but a strong throw from the Nighthawk catcher in Perez, shooting that ball over to first, retires the speedy Billardello, and now Bakari Gale shoots one into left field. I was about to say Luis is going to have his hands full with Gale. Didn't take much time to prove us right on that one, Robert.
Well, it certainly won't. It was a good piece of hitting by Gale, and now Zach Goebel is the exact person you'd want up in this situation if you're the Jaguars. Goebel's hitting, it's also the heart of their lineup. He's hitting .347 this year and is a versatile designated hitter for the Jaguars.
Bright side is for the Nighthawks. They do have 2 men down in the inning. One on the Devin Billardello strikeout, and then Maddox could not reach first in his first at bat.
So also note, Goebel's the team leader with 6 home runs this season.
And Goebel tries to send one down to Broad Street with that swing, but comes up empty. As Gale shoots his foot back into the bag safely on a pickoff attempt. And Goebel, you can see the break on the changeup there, and Goebel swings right over the top. And now Goebel is in a serious hole, down 2 strikes with 2 outs. Nice job from Goebel there to cut back on his swing, just trying to make contact and stay alive. He does so with a foul ball off into the concourse area to the right of us. He's got a large amount of real estate in left center if he wants to go that direction, but they've got Bakari Gale in a rundown.
And he avoids the tag. That was Luig's showing why he has 3 successful pickoff attempts on the season, which leads the team. But even though Gale fell for his trick, he was able to use a good move to get around the tag, and I think that was, I agree. I think he was totally able to move around the tag. The Nighthawks don't agree with that, however, but I think it's the right call.
It shows you how much damage and how speed kills a defense, as we alluded to last night, but also the elusiveness of Gale to use his body to reach out from the tag and avoid the tag. Great job by Gale. But it doesn't harm Luis at all, as the next pitch is tapped back to him, and that retires the third inning as it's in the books. We're still in a pitcher's duel. So now the top of the fourth inning makes its way into Lake Olmsted Stadium, and to take you 4 through 7, Robert, it's all yours, bub.
Thank you, Blake. So Chase Sudduth, like you said, leading off this inning. He'll be followed by Andres Perez and Connor Corbett. This is the heart of the order for the Nighthawks, 2, 3, and 4. And the first pitch to Sudduth. Swings at the first pitch and fouls it away, 0-1. We are in the top of the fourth inning, no score. The Jaguars, no runs off 2 hits, no errors, and the Nighthawks, no runs off 1 hit and no errors. Sudduth on the season is a .274 hitter. He's played and started in all but 1 game so far this season.
And what you just mentioned, too, on the hits column, that shows you how much of a pitcher's duel we have. We're deadlocked at only 3 hits in this game thus far. It's a tremendous pitcher's duel between Penley and Luis.
Count now 0-2 on Sudduth. It's a carryover from yesterday. We're also seeing the defense play a major factor like we did in yesterday's game on both sides. And here's the pitch. And it misses for a ball. 1-2. Perez, who's on deck, is hitting .330 on the season. He's followed by Corbett, who's hitting .327. And if either of them reach, including Sudduth, it'll be the designated hitter, Bill Leroy, who's hitting .325. You talk about how good the heart of the order has been. So the 3 guys to follow after Sudduth are the top 3 guys on the team, hitters-wise, average-wise, for the Nighthawks.
And that's going to put the most strain on Penley right here, because especially with these guys and the power that they have, you don't want them to make solid contact with the baseball. So you don't want to be perfect, but you want to entice them enough to where they can get fly balls like that and convert on sure outs.
And the fly ball is caught by Devin Billardello just shy of the warning track in center field for out number 1.
But we've seen Penley all season long, from the third start that we've seen him till now, mix up his pitches very well and change speeds from changeups to fastballs to splitters to sinkers to everything in his arsenal. Hit different parts of the different parts of the play, high and inside, low and away, low and inside, high and away. Mixing up the eye levels is working to perfection right now for Penley.
First pitch, curveball, misses upstairs to Perez, 1-0. And Perez, 6'7", catcher for the Nighthawks. He's considered a professional prospect as a sophomore here, not draft eligible next year.
And for a catcher, that is huge this early on in his career. That is extremely well respected.
A ball and a strike now. Correction, a ball and 2 strikes.
And it also warrants where he's hitting in the lineup in the 3-hole.
That's the main reason why. The 1-2 misses, 2 balls and 2 strikes to Perez. No, correction, 2 balls and 1 strike. There's 1 strike all along. Deceiving scoreboard here at the lake. The 2-1 pitch. High chopper up the middle. That's going to be unable to field it. Robertson unable to field it. He made a good effort to get over there and got in front of it, but wasn't able to pick the ball up and safe at first is Perez. We'll see how they rule it.
Perez struck the ball good there, but the part that was responsible for the hit was the grass. The grass killed the speed of the baseball, and Robertson had to adjust going across on the dirt to breaking across and coming in to field that pitch. And by the time he had it in his grasp and ready to throw, Perez was already on first. So the grass played a huge involvement in Perez creating that single.
It was hit to the deep part of the infield where Robertson had to go over. We still do not have a ruling on that last play. Count a ball, or no balls and 1 strike to Corbett, I should say. Leroy on deck. Leroy will hit next, barring a double play ball.
And with it being the 3, 4, and 5 guys right now, it's still early, but I would not be surprised to see them try a hit and run with the speed of the catcher Perez at first. If they try a hit and run, that way they're more likely to avert that, and because that's the one thing in this part of the lineup you don't want to see, especially with the way this is going, is a twin killing to subvert an inning and thwart your chances at scoring a run.
And not only that, but in a pitcher's duel where base runners are hard to come by, which has been the case throughout this series yesterday and today.
Right.
Swing and a miss by Leroy, 1 and 2. You got to try and take advantage of the base runners you have in those opportunities any way you can.
Absolutely. Because the one thing in these type of games that you'll have that you don't want to have is regret. And especially when you have a chance right now for the Nighthawks to secure the first run with your heart of the order up, and especially your cleanup hitter, you want to capitalize on as many chances as you have to score on the pitching that we've seen from Augusta. And this would be a good time, especially with the powerhouses that are up, to utilize that. And if you don't, it'll stay with you all night.
Ball and 2 strikes on Leroy. 1 out in the inning. And it has now officially, Corbett's hit to second has been ruled a base hit. And that's lined in the air to right. That's going to drop in front of Harrison Moore for a base hit. So back-to-back singles here in the 4th with 1 out for the Nighthawks. They're in business with the meat of their lineup. And that's going to bring up Stephen Tomlinson, 257 hitter on the year, 0 for 1 this afternoon.
Yeah, Corbett saw the tracking the ball and where it was, and then elected to utilize an inside-out approach and scoot it out to right field. A very solid piece of hitting there from the right fielder in Connor Corbett. And now, North Georgia with their biggest threat in this game on the dime right now, with a runner 180 feet away from home plate. As Penley shoots across the first pitch strike. He has been very conducive to throwing first pitch strikes, and that he will utilize that well in trying to induce a ground ball, and that's what he needs right now if he wants to get out of this inning with no further damage being implemented.
Count even, a ball and a strike on Tomlinson. Jaguars in double play depth. The 1-1 pitch in there. A called strike on the inside corner. And that was a nasty inside pitch that just struck the corner for a called strike. 2-1-2.
Penley reaching back with a little late extra movement on that fastball. Tails right back over the inside corner. As you said, a nasty pitch, and it creates a hole for the Nighthawks. Down a strike.
That's lined. Fielded at shortstop by Maddox. Throw to first. Not going to be in time. That pulled Hobbs off the bag as it was a high throw on what was a bang-bang play, but it was a hard-hit ball that Maddox, an outstanding job at shortstop to dive for it with quick reflexes, as that was hit as hard as any ball's ever been hit at this level, to stop that from going in the outfield. Save a run as that prevented Corbett from scoring from second. As a result, Corbett is held at third, and Tomlinson is able to beat it out. That is a ruled a base hit.
Well, Maddox there, you have to give Maddox credit on a tremendous diving stab there. The wind aided that throw from Maddox to Hobbs and aided in that ball sailing over Hobbs' head. That's why he had to jump, and that's why there wasn't an out acquired, was because of the ball sailing. And it's just a tough break for the Jags, but they still can get out of this inning with a double play.
Called strike to Arnold, 1-1, and if the ball's put in play, you kind of have to get a double play to prevent a run unless you throw home, and the Jaguars do not have their infield in with one out and the bases loaded.
So if you're the Nighthawks here, you want to cream the ball hard enough to where you cinch it through a hole, or you want to elevate it enough to where you can get it into the outfield, or deaden the ball enough in the infield to where it causes chaos and miscommunication on the Jags defense. And if you're the Jags, you have a force at any base now to create that double play. So be smart, be efficient, and know where your play is on the infield if the ball is hit to you.
It's part of the fundamentals that we've talked about before. That's in the air to right field. Moore makes the catch. That might be deep enough to score the run. Corbett's tagging. He's on his way home, and he scores. And that puts the Nighthawks on top. They scored their first run of the game yesterday when they scored 4 in the 9th. And this time doesn't quite take them that long as they get on the board here in the 4th and take a 1-0 lead. As that's the second out of the inning. And that actually was scored Perez from third. Corbett's at second, and Tomlinson is at first.
Well, a great job on reading the catch and then gunning to home by the Nighthawks there. It was questionable at the depth of how deep Moore is, how strong his arm is in the field, whether or not to take off. It's a good read, and they made it with ease as Moore's throw went over to third to keep the second run 180 feet away instead of 90 feet away.
The ball and no strikes now to Arnold. And the 1-0 pitch misses. 2-0 after seeing the bases get loaded. Jaguars trying to get out of the inning with minimal damage. If you get out of this inning down 1, there's nothing really to hang your head about with the way things have gone.
Absolutely not. Going from a bases loaded predicament to 2 runners on, and
that's through the hole into left field, off of the glove of Gale and left, and that's going to be a double. Another run scores. It's 2-0, runners on second and third, and it's 2-0 in favor of the Nighthawks, and they are not done yet. And that's going to bring out the Jaguars assistant coach for a mound visit.
Yeah, Penley just caught too much of the plate. It was an inside fastball. Usually a good spot, but the only issue with that was where North Georgia was tracking the ball, and all they had to do was bring the bat head around center cut inside, bring their hands in, turn on it, and lace it into left field. And the Jags got to find a way to get out of this inning. But if you're North Georgia, you want to try to keep piercing through this score and further your cushion.
Now you'd have to wonder, with the ball going off of the glove of Bakari Gale on the bounce, it's a double, no error.
Right.
But perhaps that allowed for an extra advancement of the runners.
Where it would have been second and first, is now third and second.
And it's a called strike on Clarno. 0-1. This is the 7th hitter on the Nighthawks to come to bat this inning. As so far in the series, it's basically the Nighthawks are either shut down offensively by the Jaguars, or the bats explode and they string together a bunch of hits at once. And that's what we're seeing this inning, and that's what we saw in the 9th inning yesterday. And that's been the difference in this series of both games, all by itself.
Absolutely, and we've seen that type of play similar with the Jags earlier on. They've since kind of rearranged things and have been more consistent, but an explosion like that will get you a good lead. But the thing is, can you hold that lead? And that's where especially from the Nighthawks bullpen perspective, if we get into that area, it'll be interesting to see how the Jags offense matches up against their bullpen.
The count 1-2 on Clarno. Pitch grounded to third. Diving stop by Wagner. He throws across the diamond on the hop to Hobbs. It is in time, and that ends the inning, but not before the Nighthawks score 2 and take 2-0 lead, with the Jaguars coming to bat, trailing 2-0 here at the Lake. We'll be back. Welcome you back to the Lake. Jaguars trailing 2-0. Here you're watching and listening to the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube here on this spectacular Saturday evening in the CSRA. And the first pitch swung on by Harrison Moore, and he hits that to deep left center field in the gap. That's going to go all the way to the wall. And around second goes Moore. He's going for third. The throw to third, not in time. Moore slides in safely with a first pitch leadoff triple to start the bottom of the 4th. And boy, did the Jaguars need that to start off an inning after falling behind in the top of the inning.
Moore explodes right there through a high, or basically a hanging fastball inside, turns on it and just unloads on it to left center field, and the Jags, just what the doctor ordered, down by 2.
Swing and a miss on the first pitch by Alford. Then the Jaguars are aggressive early on. They're not taking early pitches against Luigs, who's shown that he's capable of throwing strikes and getting ahead in the count, so the Jaguars do not want to waste any opportunities. And the 0-1 just misses upstairs for a ball. 1-1 on Alford. Runner on third and Moore, who showed outstanding speed for a cleanup hitter, leading off the inning playing right field for the Jaguars. Now 2 balls and a strike is the count to the Jaguars catcher Alford.
And if you're Alford here, you don't want to try to overswing. You don't want to try to pound this out of the park. What you want to try to do is get a pitch where you can put the ball in play, make contact with it, either on the ground or in the air, to get that run home from third.
That's popped up. It's going to stay in the infield, but barely in foul territory, and the catch is made at first base for the out. So non-productive out for the Jaguars. Still 1 out, though, and a runner on third, so they still do not necessarily need a base hit to score more. And that's going to bring up Jim Wagner, who singled his first time up to become the first Jaguars base runner and the first Jaguar to record a hit in this game, the first of 3 Jaguar hits in this game. And let's note, Moore's triple to lead off this inning. That's the only Jaguar hit so far that did not come with 2 outs. First pitch to Wagner, just misses outside, 1-0. The Jaguars have scored runs since the first inning of yesterday's game. It's been all Nighthawks pitching since then, when Heil settled down. Cade Heil on the mound yesterday, the starter for the Nighthawks, and was outstanding. Off the glove on the line drive of Mapes, the shortstop, and that's going to score. Moore on a hard hit line drive, RBI by Wagner, as it went off of Mapes' glove, who was in perfect position to make the play, but Mapes was unable to keep his glove on the ball, and it ended up being hard hit enough to go all the way in the outfield for an RBI single by Wagner, and scores Moore, and it's a 2-1 game, and we will have a mound visit now for the Nighthawks.
Yeah, Mapes did all he could, but at the peak of his jump, he needed just a little extra height on that to secure the baseball in the glove, and he was not able to corral the catch out there, and it proves costly because now, as we speak with the mound visit, the tides have turned and the pressure's now back on Luigs, who you don't want to throw a meat pitch here, but you also don't want to throw a pitch to where the Jags can create solid contact and get a double out of it. Now, if you are the Jags, you want to try to work the count in your favor to get it to garner a hitter's pitch, and that is if you're ahead in the count if you're ahead in the count 3 balls or 2 balls to no strikes or 1 strike, you want a hitter's count to see and choose your pitch that you want to attack.
Robertson, the freshman, fouls one away. 0-1. It's a 2-1 ball game in favor of the Nighthawks, as the Jaguars have a little offense going for the first time in 12 innings worth of baseball. Runners going, and it's fouled away. And Wagner will return to first after his wind sprint. 0-2 to Robertson. Wagner represents the tying run. This is the part of the Jaguars lineup where you could see small ball with the speed of Wagner and the speed of Robertson if he can get on base here as well.
Absolutely. With 2 strikes, though, it does take out the bunt element.
Check on the runner at first. You got to be careful, though, if you're the Jaguars with Luigi's pickoff attempt. We saw him almost pick off Bakari Gale early on, but a very good move by Bakari Gale resulted in him luckily being safe.
Right.
But he still fell for the trick. A ball and 2 strikes now to Robertson.
usually on a pickoff attempt, you're able to see the ball before it's released to go to first base. Luigs is deceptive with his pickoff attempt, and you're not able to see the ball coming to first base as early, and that's one of the things that threw Gale off.
That's lined and caught in left field. A spectacular diving catch by the left fielder Prophet, as Joshua Prophet robs Robertson of a base hit, and Wagner has to tag up and go back to first with 2 outs in the inning. He dove as much as you can for that ball.
And that was a sinking line drive too. And if he hadn't have dove for it, then that would have not have only been a single, but that could have been miles of real estate and base pads for Robertson to go on, and the game could be telling a different story.
But so here's Ty Hobbs. Another check on the runner. Hobbs is still not seeing a pitch in this at-bat.
And also Prophet's speed and the acceleration he had in the closing distance tremendously helped him in the last split second, diving for it and making the catch. What a phenomenal catch. But the Jags are still have a chance here to scratch across this second run.
And the 0-1 checked his swing. Did he go around? He did. That pitch may have been a little outside, but as it turns out, Hobbs chased it on the check swing. Swung just enough, and it's 0-2. Not a big lead by Robertson at first base, and that's for good reason with Luigi's move. And the 0-2 misses a ball and 2 strikes. Shows the Jaguars have done their homework on him, and that's going to make it hard enough to steal as it is.
Absolutely.
Even with speedy runners. Let's also not forget Andres Perez is their 6'7" catcher behind home plate, who is considered a professional prospect.
And usually it comes with that is a cannon of an arm too. We haven't seen it this series, but with him being a prospect, you can very much tell that he's got a little cannon behind the dish.
Two balls and 2 strikes on Hobbs. Deuces are wild. The 2-2 swing and a miss, and down on strikes goes Hobbs, and the inning is over, but not before the Jaguars cut the deficit in half. It's 2-1 in favor of the Nighthawks as we head to the 5th at Lake Olmsted Stadium. We'll be back. Welcome you back here to the Lake. It's the top of the 5th inning. Both teams get on the board for the first time last inning. Scoreless going into the 4th, and it's now 2-1 in favor of the Nighthawks going into the 5th. And the first pitch of the inning to William Mapes is a called strike. 0-1.
Good.
He recorded the first base hit of the game for the Nighthawks with 2 outs in the 3rd inning.
It's a good idea there by to start him off with an off-speed pitch and looked like a curveball. And he didn't offer at it, but he got the first strike of the at-bat.
The 0-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. Nasty curveball. On the outside corner, 0-2. The count. And the 0-2 misses a ball and 2. Correction, now the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. So it was 1-2, now it's 2-2. Very peaceful, brisk evening in one of the bigger crowds we've seen this season. This game started shortly after the Green Jackets had their annual Buzz Fest this afternoon. And the 3-2, misses 3-2. The Green Jackets will open up their new stadium across the river and across the border in South Carolina and North Augusta on April 12th. This is their old home, which they played their last game in this last Labor Day. New stadium is just finishing up their construction before the team can officially move in, with obviously the grand opening April 12th.
Yep. And if you're not in town but know the area pretty well, it's just across the 13th Street Bridge downtown.
Just across the North Street Bridge in North Augusta, South Carolina, and yes, that is correct, South Carolina, not Georgia.
Yep. So once you go across the 13th Street Bridge, turn on to Central, and you're shooting down to SNRP Park.
That's why they're leaving the lake to, as they call it, rule the river, as it's right on the river. The 3-2 swung on line, foul into Millage Road, right in front of a car driving by. Oh boy. Millage Road's got a lot of foul balls over the years. Wouldn't be surprised if any of them roll into the lake and are still there from years. So the 3-2 lined, base hit into left field to lead off the inning. So Mapes, the number 9 hitter on the Nighthawks, is 2 for 2. That's going to bring up Joshua Prophet, who last inning just made a spectacular web gem-like diving catch.
Yeah, if you had Sports Center here showing that would have been on the Top 10 or Baseball Tonight's Web Gems or Capital One's MLB Network, Capital One Premier Plays, as he went all out, dove, sprawled out, and made the grab.
And the throw to first by Pedley on the hop. Is that on time? It is. Out at first, Prophet.
Yep.
And Mapes advances to second on the ground out.
But you know what, too? Harrison Moore's made a couple of those type of plays as well. And you can tell the passion behind which Moore and Prophet play this great game of baseball with diving stabs like that. It's all heart and it's all passion.
You got to have passion to be able to play at this level. Check on the runner at second. The pitch to Sudduth. Curveball misses downstairs. 1-0. Good job by Sudduth to lay off of that one. Runner on second. 1 out. As Prophet's ground out was a productive out for the Nighthawks. The 1-0 misses 2 balls and no strikes.
The bullpen for the Nighthawks is silent, and the Jags are anchoring in their bullpen with a left-hander warming up.
Talked about how fresh the bullpens are going into this weekend. A called strike to Sudduth 2-1. And the 2-1 misses inside, 3 balls and a strike. A walk's not the worst thing here if you're the Jaguars. First base is open with the runner on second. Less than 2 outs, although the on-deck hitter is Andres Perez.
And anytime you can have the fewest ducks on the pond for a power hitter like Perez, the better off you'll be, as you want to try to somehow secure the second out here. And that by token does put more pressure on Perez, because you don't want to make the third out in a situation like this up by 1 when you could absolutely spread this lead out to 2.
Not at all. You didn't want to, the Nighthawks didn't want to sacrifice Mapes to second all for nothing.
Yep.
The 3-2 misses outside for ball 4. And draws a walk, almost chased the pitch, and was able to lay off of it just in time when he realizes it was missing outside. 2 on with 1 out for Andres Perez.
So there is 1 out in the inning, so a double play is in order here at third, second, or first for the Jags to shut down and come to a screeching halt this threat for the Nighthawks.
And after Perez, Connor Corbett due up to hit next. If you can't get a double play here, as Perez swings and misses on a nasty pitch by Penley. 0-1. Corbett is second on the team in average, hitting just 3 points lower than Perez.
Was seething for a dead red fastball. Instead, got the change of speeds with a changeup. And you could tell he wanted to send that out to Broad Street, but came up with nothing but air.
Absolutely not. Now a count 0-2 as Perez looks at a strike. Corbett is also second on the team in home runs with 8, where Perez has 11. So both of these guys with power and average. That's why they hit 3 and 4 in the lineup. Step on the mound time is called. No balls and 2 strikes to Perez. Runner on second. 1 out here in the top of the 5th inning. The Nighthawks lead the Jaguars and are at the plate 2-1. Game 2 of a 3-game Peach Belt Conference Series. Game 3 tomorrow. 1 o'clock Eastern Time. First pitch here at Lake Olmsted Stadium. The 0-2 is lined in the air to right field. Back to get it, Harrison Moore. He's shy of the warning track. He makes the catch. And that is allowed. Out number 2. And a big out number 2 as well, with Connor Corbett coming up.
You do the right thing there by going a fourth or a half of the way to see if Moore catches it, but that's also the thing that plagued the Nighthawks right there, because they went half and a fourth of the way and not stayed on the bag. They were not transferring over to third and second, and they're halted at second and first because they didn't stay on the bag and tag up to when they could have easily made it over there. So a break for the Jags on both parts there. Even though the Nighthawks did the right thing, it may come back to bite them.
And swung on and missed by Corbett on the first pitch. 0-1. Perez and Corbett talked about how good they are. They both singled in the 4th inning back-to-back and scored the only 2 runs of the game so far for the Nighthawks that inning as well.
And Corbett with a tremendous opposite field approach, and that's a sign of a tall tale and really good hitter at the plate. And you can utilize the opposite field as well as he did, but let's see if Penley has other ideas for him in this at-bat.
The 0-1 pitch, lined off the glove of Maddox into center field. They're going to wave. Mapes around third, the throw home. Over the head of Alford, Mapes scores. To second goes Corbett, to third Suddeth. It's 3-1. And that was a costly bad throw by Maddox throwing home.
Yeah.
As can't say he would have gotten the out anyway, but that allows the other runners to advance 90 feet, and now there's 2 runners in scoring position. And that's a hit on the single and then an error on the throw by Maddox by rule.
Would have been safer for the Jags to fake the throw and hold on to it, but either way, North Georgia is pouring on the pressure now and pouring on the runs as they just scored another run off
a wild pitch and make that 2 runs as hustling from second. Corbett scores all the way from second on the hustle and makes the Jaguars pay as Alford took his time to go after that ball. The Nighthawks take advantage and score 2 runs on a wild pitch, and it's 5-1.
As good as Alford has been blocking the plate all his career here at Lake Olmsted Stadium, on that particular pitch, he couldn't find the ball once it hit off the shin guard. It bounced off over by the Jaguar dugout on the third base side, and Alford could not find it. He thought it bounced back toward us behind home plate, and it didn't. It bounced over where he couldn't pick it up. And as a result, not only 1 run comes across, but 2 escorts to touch home plate.
That's going to be chopped foul. This game was a pitcher's duel going into the 4th inning. Now we're not even through 4.5, and it's already 5-1. The complexion of the game has changed drastically, as well as in the series.
It's just a couple of defensive miscues have cost the Jags here, and their offense is going to be raring to go when they get back in to the dugout. But the thing about it is too, as long as they've been on the field now, the longer they stay out there, they're going to have tired legs, and at that point, it may affect their hitting as well.
Line base hit by Leroy up the middle. Well, the good news for the Jaguars, they have already faced now the heart of the Nighthawks lineup this inning.
Right.
So we'll see if they can take advantage of that. Get out of this inning now. They're going to have to face Stephen Tomlinson, who's a .257 hitter on the season. Still with 2 outs here in the 5th. First pitch swinging, and he fouls it away. 0-1.
Penley's still precise in touching the corners of the plate. He's done a really good job at isolating those corners and pinpointing them for strikes. But it's when he's left the ball over the inner thirds in the center of the strike zone that he's found trouble, and the Nighthawks have been able to barrel him up.
Fouled away again, 0-2. The count on Leroy. Correction, 0-2 on Tomlinson. Leroy on first after the 2-out single line drive up the middle to center field. 2 outs in the inning, 0-2 the count to Tomlinson, and the 0-2 misses outside, just barely 1-2. Tomlinson stays alive after laying off pitch number 3. Trying to extend the inning for Jake Arnold, who waits on deck. And the 1-2 misses, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Deuces are wide here with 2 outs. And the 2-2, swing and a miss. And the throw down to first in time to complete the strikeout, as Hobbs is just barely able to keep his foot on the bag, and the inning is over, but not before the Nighthawks score 3 and make it 5-1. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Jaguars coming to bat, needing to answer. We'll be back. Welcome you back here to the lake for the fifth. Trent Maddox looks at the ball, the first pitch he sees to lead off this inning. Jaguars trail it 5-1 as they've really shot themselves in the foot with some defensive miscues and turned what was a pitcher's duel for a while into now a deficit that they got to really start to chip away at. And Maddox flies out to left for out number 1. That's going to bring up Devin Villardello as we're back to the top of the Jaguars order. Villardello's over 2 tonight.
Yeah, and one of the ways to do that is just be patient and work the counts. Unless you can see the pitch that you already want up at the dish on the first pitch, be patient and work the count, because if you're in a hitter's count, you're more than likely going to get something that you can hit a hard line drive or make solid contact and conk a single onto the field of play. So at that and at this point, down by 4, if you're the Jaguars, you just want base runners.
The 1-0 pitch, that's hit in the air to center field. Going over to it, that is, and making the catch is Tomlinson. Stephen Tomlinson makes the catch for out number 2. It's going to bring up Bakari Gale, as the Jaguars will now need a 2-out rally if they want to make this the inning where they can get a little closer at the very least. They do have the hitters coming up to do so. That's the good news. Gale, if he can extend the inning, will be followed by Zach Goebel and then Harrison Moore if we get there. And now the pitch inside. Pair of inside pitches missing to Gale, and that leads to him being ahead of the count now here, 2-0. Now the 2-0 pitch. Swung on, fouled away, 2-1.
And another thing, being selective and being selective aggressiveness for the Jags, whether it be in this inning or innings to come, will start to kind of pay off for them. And right now, they're swinging under pitches, elevating them, but the contact is going right to the outfielders.
And that contact results in a fly out to right field by Bakari Gale. So this inning, the Jaguars set down in order a fly out to left, a fly out to center, and a fly out to right in that order. And we go to the 6th with the Jaguars trailing it 5-1 here at the lake. We'll be back. And we are back here at the lake as it'll be Jake Arnold leading off the 6th inning for the Nighthawks. They'll have the bottom third of their lineup due up to start things off here against Jay Penley, who's still on the mound, beginning his 6th inning of work. He's pitched very well and just minimal run support, and the couple defensive errors has made it a little difficult for him, but nonetheless, he's pitched a very good game so far for the Jaguars here. And the 1-0 misses, 2 balls, no strikes to Arnold.
And he's also done well with pitching to contact, and that's something from a starter that you would want as a fielder, because the least amount of time you can spend out on the diamond the better on defense. It's better for your offense that way. But Penley's done a very good job at pitching the contact and making the hitters work for their hits when they've gotten them.
Down the left field line, that is a fair ball. That's going to go to the wall. Around first, Arnold. He's going to go to second. He has a leadoff stand-up double for the Nighthawks. It's going to bring up the number 8 hitter for the Nighthawks, Nick Clarno. And the Jaguars will bring their infield in for a little catcher mound visit. Bullpen is still busy for the Jaguars. It was busy last inning, but Penley back out there here in the 6th. Jaguars with a runoff of 4 hits in this game and 2 costly errors. That's why they trail 5-1. Check on the runner at second. Here's the pitch to Clarno, and that misses for a ball, 1-0. On Clarno.
And it's looking like either Brad Berger or Casey Lanak is warming up in their bullpen.
And it is Brennan Berger warming up. We do have a confirmation on that. We'll see how the Jaguars handle him out of the pen in this one. 1 ball and 1 strike to Clarno.
One of the 2 sidewinders that Augusta has from the right-hander's pitching side.
Check on the runners once again. And the 1-1. In there for a called strike 2, 1-2. On Clarno. 0 for 2 in this game is Clarno. A fly out and a ground out so far. Now the 1-2. Misses. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Once again, the series finale between these 2 teams set for tomorrow, a 1 o'clock Eastern Time first pitch, available for streaming. If you'd like to tune in on the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube, we will be here for you on that. It's available worldwide on the World Wide Web. And the 2-2 line foul. Once again. And Clarno able to stay alive there. Check on the runner. The 2-2 pitch. Misses inside for a ball, 3-2, full count. This season for the Jaguars began the first weekend of February, and we're already 3/4 of the way through the month of March. It's gone by fast.
It has, man, and it's gone by way too fast for folks who love the game of baseball. And there's been some ups and downs, but here lately, it's been a tremendous turn of events, especially for, as we hinted at earlier, the bullpen for the Jags, who's come in and anchored a lot of innings down and shut the door. Let's see if Penley here, the starter, can get out of this predicament with a 3-2 count on the board.
And he gets Clarno to swing and miss on a 3-2 curveball on the letters for strike 3. Blake, you talk about trusting your stuff. That was what you normally would see as a waste pitch curveball on the letters, and Penley was, with 3-ball count, he truly believed that it would cut into the strike zone, and it did. And it paid off as he gets Clarendon to swing and miss for strike 3.
Well, you don't usually see a curveball in a full count scenario like that, and Penley utilized that very well to get the third out. Started at the top of the zone and just dropped straight down the turnpike into the center of the plate, and Clarendon could not do a darn thing with it.
And he had to swing, too, with 2 strikes.
Absolutely. And there's a huge difference in swinging at a third strike and looking at a third strike.
Looking at a third strike is offensively one of the worst things that can happen to you in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
That's what any coach will tell a player.
Absolutely.
In practice and during speeches.
Absolutely, especially on a pitch that does something like that and ends up at the heart of the plate.
Yeah, even if it looks like it's going to be a ball and then it breaks. Still time to react. Not a lot, but it's there.
Just trying to navigate and work over the inside corner, just barely missing.
And drawing a walk, Mapes draws a walk, and it's 2 on with 1 out. Back to the top of the order, and Profit. Coming up now. Profit is hitless tonight, 0 for 3. And he swings and misses on another curveball. 0-1. You'd have to think, with as busy as Brennan Berger's been in the bullpen for the Jaguars, this will likely be the last inning for Jay Penley, if he can get out of it.
Right. He had Profit there fooled. He was looking for a sinker there, or a splitter, and he got a curveball. It died at the right point in time going to the plate, and he had Profit way out in front.
Nothing in 1 to Profit. And now the 0-1. Inside corner, a called strike 2. 0-2 is now the count. Now the 0-2. Swing and a miss. Down on strikes goes Profit. Second strikeout this inning by Penley. His 5th strikeout of the game. 2 gone. When you look back at how good the Jaguars pitching staff has been this series, starting pitching-wise, especially at the early on in games, in this game the Jaguars were 1 over the minimum defensively through the first 3 innings. And in yesterday's game, they faced the minimum through the first 3 innings and were 1 over the minimum into the 8th inning. And were 3 above the minimum going into the 9th before the Nighthawks batted around that inning and scored 4 runs to beat him 4-1. That is the end of the night for Penley. He leaves with runners on first and second and 2 outs this inning. Brennan Berger has entered the game in relief, inheriting 2 runners. So Penley's night statistically is not over yet. He ends his outing having given up, for now, 5 runs off of 8 hits, although he is still responsible for the runners on first and second. If they do not get stranded here with 2 outs this inning, he will be charged with those runs as well. So Berger trying to bail him out with the Jaguars trailing 5-1. We'll be back. Welcome back here to the lake. Once again, the new pitcher for the Jaguars is Brennan Berger on in relief of Jay Penley, who went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 5 runs off of 8 hits, and is responsible for the runners that are currently on first and second. If either of them score, Penley will be charged with those runs. Berger trying to get him out of this. He is 0-2 on the season, a 6.14 ERA. This is his 12th appearance out of the pen. He does have 1 save this season for the Jaguars. One of 3 relievers to have at least 1 save on the season for AU. Pitch a ball and no strikes to Chase Sudduth. 2 on and 2 out. And the 0-1-0 chop foul 1-1. The Jaguars are not worrying at all about the runners, not even trying to hold them on with 2 outs at this point. But they definitely are trying to get Sudduth as Perez is on deck.
Absolutely, and if it's hit hard to the shortstop or second, they're probably going to go to second. And if it's rapidly hit to Wagner at third enough to where he can step on the bag, his play is going to be at third. Everything else you're going to see over at first.
A bright spot for Berger on the season. In this his 12th appearance out of the bullpen, he has recorded 14 strikeouts, which is more than 1 a game on average. And for any reliever who has short outings, that's a good thing. That's in the air to right center field. Moore goes over, and Harrison Moore makes the catch to end the inning. So the Nighthawks strand 2 as we now go to the bottom of the 6th here at the lake. 5-1 in favor of the Nighthawks. Will be back. Welcome you back to the lake. It's the bottom of the 6th inning. Zach Goebel, the designated hitter, will lead it off for the Jaguars. He's over 2 tonight. Luig's back on the hill to start his 6th inning of work for the Nighthawks. So far in 5 innings, he's given up a runoff of just 4 hits in this game and no errors by the Nighthawks. Called strike to Goebel, 0-1. Now the 0-1 pitch. That's in there for a called strike. 0-2 the count.
Both pitches there painting the corners. Again, Luigi's working very well, much like Penley was on the corners.
Lined up the middle, a base hit by Zach Goebel. A good start to the inning for the Jaguars here in the 6th. Goebel with his first base hit of the night, and the reigning Peach Belt Conference Player of the Week and the Regional Player of the Week, also from last week, is on base to start the inning with nobody out.
That starts with the mindset of an inside-out approach and not a mindset of pulling the ball. And sometimes an inside-out approach doesn't mean going to the opposite part of the field. It just means having the thought of mind to either hit it out into right field or up the gut, which also can happen too, depending on where the ball is placed on the bat. So a good piece of hitting there by Goebel to get this started for Augusta.
The 1-0 misses inside. 2 balls and no strikes on Harrison Moore. Both teams, for the Jaguars this inning and for the next half inning, and the Nighthawks, both teams with the same spot of their lineups due up. However, the Nighthawks are in their 4th trip through the lineup, the Jaguars in their 3rd. High chopper to short, throw to second in time to get 1, throw to first in time to get the speedy Harrison Moore, who thought he had beaten it out, but it's a double play. And a huge momentum-shattering double play for the Jaguars, who are convinced that Harrison Moore beat it out. He's not going back to the dugout yet, as the Jaguars are presenting their case to the base umpire. But nevertheless, as it stands right now, there are 2 outs and nobody on after the 6-4-3 double play.
It's bang play, but oftentimes, as the old saying, the old rule goes, tie goes to the runner, but second baseman for the Nighthawks had to make a quick and fiery throw to first base to even have a chance to gun down Moore at first base, and the argument from the Jags doesn't prevail, and the double play is made. But as you said before, what a turn of events right there.
First pitch to Alford fouled away. Absolutely, as the Jaguars had a good start to the inning, the exact kind of start they wanted, and try and chip away at this thing, and it's just got a lot harder. And a swing and a miss by Alford, who's behind in the count, 0-2 with 2 outs and nobody on in the inning.
And for the Jags, you want to put that play out of your memory bank completely and put it behind you and come out swinging in the bottom half of the 7th when you're back up, because you don't want that to reflect in the latter innings to come.
Absolutely, and Alford down on strikes after swinging and missing at 3 nasty pitches in a row by Luigs. And that ends the inning. It's still 5-1 Nighthawks as we go to the 7th. We'll be back. Welcome you back to Lake for the top of the 7th inning to take you the rest of the way play-by-play. Here's Blake Collins.
Thank you, Robert. Brendan Berger's back on the mound for his first full inning of work, and his first toss to Andres Perez, the catcher, is belted high into left field. That is where Gale is under it, and he makes the catch for out number 1. So a rapid out from Berger here on 1 pitch. And now he's dealing with the Nighthawks cleanup man and Connor Corbett. First pitch. Nails over the corner for a strike. Alford sets up outside. The target's a little more in than he would like to for Berger, but he gets a swing through anyway. As Corbett is now trying to battle out of an 0 ball and 2 strike hole. With Gale patrolling left field, he camped under and put the kibosh on the first out. Off of a sky high. Fly out. And now Corbett's trying to keep his turn plate alive and foul off as many pitches as he can that's close to the strike zone. And that ball's pounded into the ground. Wagner with a strong cannon fires it across to Hobbs at first. Close play. Corbett speed, but the Jags retain the out.
What a huge bright spot Jim Wagner has been at third base in this game. And he's a very versatile player, but there's a reason why the Jaguars generally like to have him at third base, is because he has the strong arm of all the infielders and is able to make the throw to first, just like that.
He is an outfielder's arm. He has never played for the Jags in the infield until this season, and he's displaying that left field and that center field and that right field arm at third base, and that is what the Jags really, really like to have at third base, just for that type of reason. If you runner going down first base, only a strong throw will get him. The flamethrower gets him at first. And that ball is sent into center field. Bill Ordello doesn't have to move many steps to contain the third out. And so 1-2-3 inning for the Jags. Much needed for them as we mosey back on into the bottom half of the 7th after the stretch. We will see you on the other side. Jim Wagner will jump start the Jags 7th inning off as the first pitch he sees settles low and Georgia looks to improve on a 6-7 conference record and 13-12 overall, and Augusta is trying to come back and keep from falling to 6-13, and they will also be 9-19 overall. So that's where, if this game stands, that's where these two teams will be placed for tomorrow. We still have 3 innings to go, so anything can happen, and Wagner is being patient at the plate. He always has diligent eyes and very keen eyes in regards to knowing where the strike zone is. And he rips at that one and bounces it foul to first base. Payoff pitch to Wagner. Wagner strikes through it and gets a piece of it and shoots it foul back to the cargo net.
And he shows discipline, which he showed earlier on in this game. He had a rough game yesterday, was 0 for 4, but a pair of singles in this game. He's 2 for 2, largely because of the discipline.
And Wagner chooses to go to the opposite field, and that's belted over the center fielder's head. Wagner's speed is going to issue him at second, usher him into second base. He thinks about turning the Jets on to go to third, but holds up, and Wagner with a critical leadoff double to jumpstart the bottom half of the 7th inning for the Jags.
And even though the Jaguars are down 4, here's why that extra base and the double is so crucial as opposed to a single. It's double play a lot harder to turn.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where it's going to have to come from any other place than your traditional double plays you always see. The Jags are in a good standing point, and now that's even out of the question as the wild pitch is in play, and Wagner stands at third base now. Got a really good jump off of that wild pitch, no throw, and the Jags are cooking with Crisco, looking to get back one of those insurance runs and creep up on this lead and stabilize the lead if they get this run to only 3. Robertson skies that one into right center field. Center fielder's calling for it. Wagner's speed may be tested, but a good idea for the Jags to hold up at third base, considering where the center fielder for the Nighthawks was positioned. He caught that ball in shallow center field, and it would have been a close play at the plate, and you don't want to chance it, especially where the Jags are right now, down by 4.
Yeah, you don't want to run into any extra outs that you don't need to run into, and that was a spot-on throw home as well. So good decision by Wagner to stay at third, even with his speed.
Luigi's still back out there, and he is behind in the count. Hobbs places a solid bunt down. It's productive out as a run does shoot across home plate as the Jags solidify their second run off of a sacrifice bunt from Hobbs.
Jaguars needed that run to start to chip away, but they can't afford to give away any more outs.
Robert, I do believe that may be all for Kyle Luigi here tonight, as
he's getting hugs by his teammates in the infield.
Yep. And the ball is taken off of his hands, and we will be back to tell you all about the new Nighthawk pitcher. You don't want to miss it. So the Nighthawk call to the bullpen goes to Logan Burt, the left-hander. Fires, pitch down and in. As Trent Maddox is standing at the dish for the Jags with 2 out in the inning. If he can get on base, the Jags will continue what they started here by stretching across 1 run.
Burt has a 3.54 ERA on the season. He is 3rd on the team, just in front of Luigs, who's 4th. He's 1-1. This is his 12th appearance out of the bullpen this season. However, here's an important note. He has surrendered 5 home runs to opponents this season.
That may come up huge with the heart of the Jags order coming up next inning if it doesn't get too out of control here for Burt, as he is up a strike on Maddox. Maddox is just looking to get on board, extend this inning, and turn it back over to Bill Ordello at the top of the Jags order in hopes that they will string together strong base hits and spark another 2-out rally going here to tie this ballgame up. And that looks like off the bat it's not going to happen, as Profit cams under it and he closes the 3rd out here in the bottom of the 7th. We mosey on to the top half of the 8th. Nighthawks in pretty good control at this point, up by 3. The first man to contest Brennan Berger's second full inning on the mound is Stephen Tomlinson. And he barrels one on the ground past 3rd base, breaching in foul territory. As Berger wants a new baseball. And that ball's sent right back up the pipe where it was pitched. And the Nighthawks have the leadoff threat on the bags.
You think the Nighthawks, they put Logan Burt into the game, obviously as a relief pitcher with 2 outs last inning, and he strikes out Maddox, or he gets Maddox to fly out to end the inning. That was meant as a lefty versus lefty matchup, but not only that, they're using that as a bridge to the closer spot in the 9th inning, with this being a safe situation unless the Nighthawks are able to add insurance either this inning or next inning.
Right.
And if they want to do that, a huge start to the inning by Tomlinson to get on with a single.
if you're Berger here, you want to pitch like there's nobody on base, even though there's a runner on at first. You still want to pitch your game, and you also want to try to pitch the ball low in the zone to see if you can get that ground ball. But you also don't want to overthrow and elevate a pitch to where the Nighthawks can tattoo the baseball. Berger now. Wheels and deals. Pitches destined for the dirt. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. This would be a huge double play if the Jazz could turn it. Would love a hard ground ball hit to the infield here. And that is a good keen eye there by Arnold. As that pitch looked like it was going to creep over the inside corner and then tailed back out. Check back over at first. The top of the 8th, 5-2 is your score, with most of the runs coming in the middle innings for the Nighthawks, and sporadic runs for the Jags. One in the middle innings and 1 last inning, trying to claw their way back. So you got 2 balls and 2 strikes. As Berger releases. That pitch, again, destined for the dirt. This time got to swing right over the top of it. And the strikeout is well warranted for Brennan Berger.
Talk about how good Berger has been out of the bullpen. It's been a rough season for the Jaguars bullpen in general as well as for Berger, but he's come out strong in this game just so far. Single since he came on the relief. With 2 outs in the 6th, he retired Chase Sudduth to get out of that jam that he inherited, which ended that inning, set down the Nighthawks in order in the 7th, and gets an out here in the 7th, here in the 8th, on a strikeout by Arnold with a man on.
And that pitch is tapped in the dirt in foul territory, right outside the batter's box. And that pitch gets away from Berger there. Is an airmail special delivered straight to the back. Got away from him. As Arnold takes his base. And even though you don't want to hit a batter, Robert, if you wind up hitting a batter, that is a good spot to hit a batter in the back.
With first base open.
Right.
Yes.
We've seen it this season where players have been hitting in the helmet and been hit in the legs and stuff like that. The back area has more meat and more places where it can't do as much damage as the helmet or the head or places like that. So that's an area where if you're going to get hit, that's a place where you would gladly take the hit and try to over to first base.
And although there's no guarantees, but if you're hitting the back, you're probably less likely to see a retaliation get sparked against you when you're up to bat, as opposed to if you're plunked in the head or the legs. You see that a lot, retaliations a lot more at the major league level than at the college level, but that's something you got to watch out for. That's why the intentional walk is definitely better if you want to put a guy on with first base open. Yeah. Obviously, you never intentionally hit a batter.
Right.
Ever.
Right. And that's also a place where the least amount of injuries can happen too. So it's definitely worked out for the Nighthawks here. They've got runners at first and second. Jags though still have that opportune double play that they can turn here to exit this inning. And Berger is keeping the ball down.
Jaguars haven't had quite as many opportunities for the double play today. However, yesterday they did a fantastic job and turned several of them. So if they get the opportunity, watch out. And if you're a hitter for the Nighthawks and you're not one of the speedy base runners, you hit a ground ball with a man on and less than 2 outs, you're in trouble.
Absolutely. And that ball served into the playground here at Lake Olmsted Stadium. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. And then the Nighthawks have out-hit the Jags. The Jags only have 6 hits on the night. The Nighthawks have acquired 9. And lead this game to a 5-2 advantage. As we touched on it earlier, those 2 errors from the Jags cost them some runs.
They have been costly, and they both came in the 5th inning when the Nighthawks scored 3 runs.
And that ball is hit sharply, but not sharply enough for the double play. So Maddox and the Jags will just secure the 1 out at first base. 2 men gone in the inning.
But a positive to that, even though you're unable to turn the double play, you're able to get outs too. You didn't have to give up a run in exchange for an out, which is good. And now there are 2 outs, and you just got to focus on the batter and getting an easy out at first if it's an option.
The issue with that is Profit, and we saw his speed earlier on that diving stab. He's also a left-handed hitter, so he's going to have an edge coming out of the box if the ball is on the ground.
He does have speed, but he is hitless in this game with 2 strikeouts.
Right. So it's a crucial at bat for the Jags, and you would like to see if you can strike Profit out here, but a ball hit into the infield that's easily fielded would be greatly warranted as well for the Jags. Cements the corner right there on a fastball from Berger. Great tailing action back over the outside corner. Profit is in protection mode with 2 strikes, and that ball's served into left center field. Gale moseys over to corral the 3rd out without any damage on the board for the Jags, and that is a welcome sight right there if you're a Jags fan. We will mosey on to the bottom half of the 8th inning. Jags look to surge to tie this ball game back up. the Jags look to fire up the offense and find a little bit of Crisco to cook with the Crisco, as you've got the table setters for the Jags and Devin Billardello to start it off, and then Bakari Gale to follow suit. And then, as you all know, throughout this game, Zach Goebel's waiting in the hole. And he is the resident Peach Belt Conference Player of the Week and Regional Player of the Week as well.
And if the first two guys ahead of him can get on, Goebel will represent the tying run. And with his power, and considering that Logan Burt has given up 5 home runs on the season, watch out.
So you definitely want to make good pitches to Billardello and Gale if you are a Nighthawk fan and Burt on the mound.
And if you're the Jaguars, the bullpen is still busy.
Mm-hmm.
It looks as though that is Tony Jones warming up for the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to have him on in the ninth inning to prevent the deficit from getting extended? Of course, Berger has been outstanding, and twice in this game, Berger has gotten the Jaguars out of a jam with two runners on base without giving up any runs in his 2 1/3 innings of work. But after that, would you want to put in a fresh arm for the 9th inning, most likely?
As we see Billardello, and we'll come back to that in a minute, Billardello shoots a single off into left field. Great start here for the Jags. But back to your question, you would love to see Berger back out there to try to finish out the 8th inning, because he has earlier this year and multiple times been a long reliever. And that's something that, and we've seen him in multiple occasions go more than 3 innings and not give up a run. So you would like to try to see Berger here finish out the best he can, but with Jones awaiting in the wings, and also Goebel, if the Jags do take the lead back, the leash may be a short leash for Berger going into the 9th inning.
Well, it's a fresh bullpen for the Jaguars. That is for certain.
And Burt cannot look at the strike zone on that pitch as that ball sails in the dirt and inside. Jaguars are looking to do some late inning damage here with the speedy Billardello on deck, or on first base, and Goebel on deck for the Jags. And the Nighthawks could not track that ball into the glove. The first baseman had a whale of a time trying to locate that in the lights and in the clouds. And at this time of the night, it's not necessarily night yet, and it's still a lot of daylight, so the higher the ball's hit, the more likely, especially with this overcast and clouds in the sky, you're liable to lose the baseball because the clouds are the same color as the baseball. And Gale watches ball 3 hit the dirt. So it's a payoff pitch ensuing here from Burt. And that ball's lasered, and you can tell that Gale wants to have that pitch back, as he had that pinpointed and lasered. If he could have just kept that fair and kept his weight back a little bit, the Jags would have been in business. Strong at bat from Gale there, is on 7 pitches he takes his base. And the Jags, patient as ever this inning, have the men on base that they need to tie this ball game up. But now Robert, my question to you, and I want to get your thoughts on this as well. Do you go for the home run here, or do you play it, base by base here too, and keep constant pressure on the pitcher?
You got to take whatever you can get.
Right.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to, like, if you go for the home run and it doesn't work out, you may have passed up something else that would still be good,
Right.
even if it's not as good as a home run.
Yeah.
So you got to take what you get. Goebel has the power to hit the home run, and that's why they're making the pitching change. And considering the amount of home runs that Bird has given up on the season, that's why they're pulling him, and rightfully so if you're the Nighthawks. And it'll be obviously a righty versus righty matchup with Goebel coming up. And this is the 8th inning, so even if the Jaguars don't score 3 runs this inning, there's still the 9th.
Right.
Obviously, you don't want to be in the game time situation if you don't have to be.
Right. And the thing for Goebel is to allow his natural swing and his natural power to come through. Don't overswing and don't overly aggressive swing at the baseball, because that lends to strikeouts more times than not. So let your natural ability and natural power come through here in a critical spot here for the Jags.
Not only is Goebel on the season, he has he has 6 home runs, he has 5 doubles, and he's hitting .347 on the season.
And you would think also, too, a well-struck ball into the gap may score Gale at first as well with his speed. So the Jags on a double could possibly cut this lead down to 1.
But if you're a base runner, you don't want to be taking an extra base unless you're absolutely sure you can make it. Unless you represent the tying or go-ahead run, you don't want to risk wasting an out when you're trying to come back at this point of the game as well.
And that's pivotal, because you, at this critical juncture, you trust your base coaches more than you ever would in this type of scenario now, with the game not firmly on the line just yet, but in a situation that is very critical for the Jags to strike here.
Goebel will be followed by Harrison Moore, who also has good power and speed.
And all of this is coming with nobody out. So the Jags have 3 outs to work with. You don't want to give the Nighthawks an out, but you want to see if you can move over Billardello, who is out running out of the baseline. So we think up here, as there is a conversation between the umpire and the third base coach.
He supposedly ran around the tag, similar to what we saw by Bakari Gale earlier on in the game on a pickoff attempt throw when he was caught in a rundown, and Gale went around the tag and was safe at first. And similarly, we see Billardello do it here, but he takes just 1 too many steps out of the baseline for the out.
As imperative as this inning is for the Jags, that was a gift delivered to the Nighthawks there. And now Harrison Moore is up at the dish. And not only that, but you also, it takes a little bit of speed off the base paths for the Jags too as a detriment, because Goebel does not have as much speed as Billardello does. And that ball served into right field. And that ball is tracked down for the second out, and Gale moseys on over to third. So ABC Baseball, to get Gale over to third base, Goebel has to stay put at first. Jags down to their last out here in the 8th.
And those are 2 huge outs for the Nighthawks, as they just got the number 3 and 4 hitters of the Jaguars out, with, as they each strand a pair of runners on base.
And now it all comes down to the bat of Brent Alford. The veteran catcher behind the dish has been behind the dish for at least 3 seasons here for the Jags, if not more. And he takes a ball down low. All for the senior. Patient eyes does him well as he looks at 2 straight balls. Now you've got a 2-ball, no strike count, and Alford can select his pitch here if he wants. Ball nearly connects with the corner, but just edges outside the strike zone. Nighthawks come right back with a strike. And that ball's fisted back our way, just to the right of us. And that ball's cranked into right center field. 1 run's going to score. Goebel is trekking around the plate, around third to home plate. And the Jags, just like that, off the bat, connect with a double and get 2 of the 3 runs back they needed.
And how huge is that after the Jaguars are unable to produce with their 3 and 4 hitters? Their number 5 hitter and catcher, Alford, is able to back them up. Talk about a good
Clutch.
depth in your lineup and clutch hitting.
That is the definition of clutch hitting right there for Brent Alford. Phenomenal piece of hitting, going the other way, not trying to do too much, realizing the situation at bay, just trying to get 1 back, turns into a critical 2-run RBI double for the Jags. And new life back in the Jags offense with Alford at second. And looks like Wagner up at the plate.
Wagner 3 for 3 today, a double, 2 singles, and a run scored. He looks to continue his hot streak, and a big opportunity here.
And they're intentionally going to put Wagner on first base with speed to pitch to Mason Robertson.
And what a big opportunity this gives the Jaguars, even with first base open here, and you try to want to face a hitter that's less of a threat and gives you more options for force plays, you are putting the go-ahead run on first base.
In a huge, huge, huge spot for Robertson. And Mason Robertson comes up in a critical and crucial spot here. He's only a freshman for the Jags in a big, big opportunity to tie this ball game up, or, as we alluded to, place the Jags in front. The Jags are halfway up the mountain. Can they cross the peak? The Nighthawks are trying to stop the bleeding and preserve this lead that they have. It was 4. It was 3. Now it's down to 1. And Robertson, 2 quick strikes placed on him. He's down in a hole. He's entering protection mode, fighting off anything that's near the strike zone. Ball soars outside. Good eye from Robertson. Swing and a miss on a splitter, and Robertson goes down, but not before the Jags strike with 2 runs in the bottom half of the 8th inning. It sets up for a dandy of a 9th inning. You don't want to miss what happens next. So Chase Sudduth is the first out of the trifecta that will face the Jags here in the 9th. You got Sudduth, then your 3 and your 4 hitters in Perez and Connor, following Perez up for the Nighthawks. Sudduth glares at a pitch just outside of the outside corner. 2 balls and a strike. And I do believe it is newly implemented pitcher Tony Jones on the mound for the Jags.
On relief of Berger, who was outstanding in 2 1/3 innings. Got the Jaguars out of 2 jams with 2 runners on base. Trying to keep the deficit where it's at and keep the Jaguars within striking distance.
Sudduth, after battling to a hitter's count, he chops one through the hole on the left side. Seeing eye single, and the Nighthawks are looking to capitalize on a greatly needed insurance run at first base only up by 1. Jags would love a double play right now. Tony has the right idea, keeping the ball down in the zone for the first strike. And that ball is too far outside, and Alfred cannot put the squeeze on the ball, so Suddeth gallivants over to second base. Now Alfred just going out there to talk to Tony, trying to calm him down a little bit. And pitch his game. And that ball's belted over toward the Jags dugout. Will it stay in fair territory? It's in foul territory, and it does not stay in play. So it'll be a souvenir for one of the fans. As Perez is giving Tony a battle. Tony, wheels and deals, fastball up in the zone. Ball 2. Bouncer to third. Throw over by Wagner. In the dirt, dug out by Hobbs. Great first to third battery right there on the corners. And the first out is in the books without Suddeth moving over to third base. Connor Corbett now is the cleanup man and one of the most powerful bats in the Nighthawk lineup. Looking to pad this lead even farther. But Tony Jones stands in his way. And Jones delivers the ball down and away. Slider can't convert on the corner. 2 balls and no strikes. Tony now looking in for the sign. Sort of that Craig Kimbrell style of setup with the arm dangling down for Jones. What a Alfred and Jones go out to discuss a few things, and now we're back in play. Outside. And it looks like they're going to walk Connor intentionally and set up a double play scenario in hopes that the Nighthawks will beat the ball into the ground. And Bill Leroy is up for the Nighthawks. And that ball served over the plate. Strike one. Swung way early and over the top. Strike number 2 is on the board. Gorgeous change up there. And that's Alford's ball if he can make the play. He's under it, and the second out is in his glove.
Big second out there for the Jaguars. Let's not forget, Jaguars forced the Night Hawks to strand runners on first and second in both the 8th and the 6th innings, both very recently, both with their bullpen. Trying to do so again here and stay within striking distance. In the bottom of this inning, the Jaguars will have Ty Hobbs, Trent Maddox, and Devin Billardello due up.
Bottom 2, and then turn it over to the top half. See what happens. And that ball was launched back our way. Strike number 2. Perfectly placed outside corner fastball for Jones. Jones 1 pitch away from getting out of this inning. That ball's laced into left. Can the insurance run score? Gale's throw to home is going to be wide, and the insurance run is tacked on in the last breath for North Georgia, as it is now 6-4 off a single. And that ball's chopped to Maddox. Fires over to Robertson. The third out is in the books, but not before that insurance run comes across home plate. As North Georgia strikes for their 6th run. They're up by 2. See what happens when the Jags come to bat in their last chance in this ballgame. So the Nighthawk call to the bullpen. Enters the fresh reliever. And Parker Morrison in for the save. And he delivers the first pitch strike to Hobbs. As Ty Hobbs looks at his first ball of the at-bat up in the zone. Bottom of the 9th inning. Jags down 2. Set the stage. The middle innings is when the Nighthawks did a lot of their damage. They tacked on 1 late. And they tacked on 2 late, just in 2 separate innings. 6-4. Hobbs rips that one down to the bullpen for the Jags. Foul. 2 strikes on him and 2 balls as well for the Jags. Middle innings, they struck with 1. Late in the 7th, they struck with 1. And then they came back and struck for 2 in the 8th inning. Hobbs, however, goes down swinging on a breaking pitch that barrels into the dirt for the first out.
And we have a pinch hitter now. Caleb McElwaney will hit for Maddox.
Trying to ignite the offense here in the 9th inning for the Jags. McElwaney has the advantage with the left-hander in the box versus the righty on the mound. Ball outside. And that is a strike as McElwaney swings straight through that pitch. Entices a corner, target located and target acquired on the outside corner for strike number 2. McElwaney awaits the 1-2. And he goes down on strikes. Tough break there for the Jags on a splitter from Morrison that's nasty. And now Devin Billardello is the last hope, and he can also be a new hope for the Jags if he can get on base.
Morrison has 3 saves on the season, and he's showing why so far with those 2 strikeouts and those nasty pitches.
The majority of his pitches thus far in this inning have been low. Whether it be low and in, low and away, he's working both sides of the plate, but the majority have been low.
If you're Bill Ardello now with 2 outs in the 9th inning, you just got to focus on hitting safely and getting the tying run to the plate any way you can.
Absolutely. And even he may not even have to take the bat off his shoulders for that, because even a walk would be just what the doctor ordered for the Jags. And it's looking like that's Bill Ardello's mindset, is to make Morrison throw a strike here. He's done just that. Ball 3 outside. So even if Bill Ardello gets on, the Nighthawks are not worried about Bill Ardello's run. They're worried about Gale at the plate. Gale has power. We've seen that before. He caught the grand slam in the Saturday game against West Georgia that temporarily put them in the lead in that heartbreaking game that the Jags lost. But that just goes to show you what type of power Bakari Gale has with Bill Ardello now at first base off of that walk.
Now, how you handle things defensively if you're the Nighthawks, they're obviously talking things over. It doesn't appear they're going to make a change, though, with this mound visit. Nevertheless, they're just trying to figure out, okay, Bakari Gale's up now. He represents the tying run.
Right.
How are we going to pitch to him? And obviously it reminds everyone, just focus on the batter and not worry about the runner.
The infield should be playing straight up for the Nighthawks. I would not be shocked if the outfield moves back a couple of steps to keep everything in front of them and not let anything get over their heads.
Well, if something gets over their heads, Gale, representing the tying run, can really put the pressure on the Nighthawks.
Yeah, he's got
with his speed.
He's got pedal to the metal speed, and he can motor around those bases. So at this juncture, anything can happen. And Gale has, as we mentioned, hit a grand salami before and put them in the lead in a ball game against West Georgia on that Saturday affair. This Saturday affair, however, same type of situation, just a little bit of a different diagram here. They were down by 3. They're down by 2 here. Gale looking for Green Street on that swing as he had the green light all the way. High and inside. It's a pitch to him. He swung right through it. And that ball's fought off foul. Jags down to their last strike. And if you're Gale at this juncture, protect the zone, but you want to try to cut back on that swing too. Two balls and 2 strikes. And that ball's out of the zone. Released that too late. Pulled it low and away. Did Morrison. The tension mounts. 3-2 on Bakari Gale. Speed at first. Down by 2. Gale sends that one into left field. Profits under it. And puts the final kibosh on a rather tense ball game in the latter stages of the game. Jaguars fought back late. Good signs in the latter stages of the final 3 innings, Robert.
These are good signs, and with the struggles the Jaguars have had, it's obviously frustrating when the close games don't go your way, when you feel like those are the opportunities that you have and it doesn't work out. But the good news is, even though you're struggling, you're still close and still have a great opportunity tomorrow, regardless, and in any game the rest of the season. And I think that's important message to get across to the players as they get ready for tomorrow. And a 1 o'clock start time, so not a lot of time to dwell on the past. There's nothing really to dwell on with as good as the games have been. Obviously, the results are not what the team has been after, but nevertheless, big opportunity tomorrow to get a win and avoid the sweep.
Yep. If you salvage the game where you can tomorrow, we will be right back here with you at 1 o'clock tomorrow for the final game number 3 between North Georgia and the Jags. What a game, what a battle, and what a heartbreaking loss for the Jags. We will see you tomorrow.